I found a really interesting ebook on Tutankhamun that I would like to share with you. So I'm going to take a break today and maybe tomorrow while I share some of this book with you, and then we'll go back to our 100 Facts About the Ancient Egyptians. So this book, as I said, is an ebook, and it's entitled, as you can see, Was Tutankhamun Killed? And sort of the burning question that kind of threads throughout this is, what caused the death of Tutankhamun at the age of 19? And I'm going to show you in this book some evidence, and then we need to make up our own mind. So let's see. This is an information book, as you can see. It has a contents page. Instead of saying the page numbers, it's got the screen numbers because it is an e-book. So let's go to the first chapter. Who was Tutankhamun? Tutankhamun became the pharaoh of Egypt when he was just 9 years old. Tutankhamun lived at a dangerous time. Egypt was going through religious changes and wars. Lots of people were killed. Being a boy king sounds great, but Tutankhamun still had to do as he was told. His advisors and guardians thought that controlling the pharaoh was the best way of controlling Egypt for themselves. As soon as he was old enough to rule on his own, Tutankhamun died very suddenly. The question is, did he have a terrible illness, or was he killed? So let's find out, Willow class. How do we know about Tutankhamun? And on this page, you can see that there's lots of letters and there's an animal print. And if I click on them, it's going to hopefully give me some more information. So let's see. The whole mystery started when Howard Carter found Tutankhamun's body. So who was Howard Carter? Well, Howard Carter was an expert on the treasures of ancient Egypt. His search for Tutankhamun's tomb was paid for by Lord Carnarvon, who was very rich. Howard Carter had been looking for Tutankhamun's tomb for many years. He searched part of the desert called the Valley of the Kings, where Egypt's pharaohs were buried. In November 1922, Carter's team discovered a stone step beneath the sand. A staircase led to the entrance of a tomb which had been hidden for thousands of years. The doorway was marked with a royal seal and the name Tutankhamun. Let's click on here. Oh, look, a newspaper showing the discovery of Tutankhamun's tomb. I'm having to really bend close to the screen to see it. So that must have been dated 1922. Let's have a look over here. So this is the, let me go back. That said, the Valley of the Kings in Egypt. And here we have a map of Egypt showing the Valley of the Kings. You can see the red cross just right by the Nile. Fred emailed in the other day to say that apparently there are over 10,000 crocodiles in the Nile at the moment. Dangerous place. Right, let's see here. So why did it take so long to find Tutankhamun's tomb? Tutankhamun was buried in a tomb meant for an ordinary person rather than a king. Other tombs were built around it too. Why was Tutankhamun buried in an ordinary tomb? Maybe they wanted to bury him in a hurry, or did someone deliberately want to hide the tomb? That's a bit of a clue for us, maybe. And here you can see Howard Carter's diary from 1922. So let's have a read. Friday, the 24th of November. We discovered on the tomb doorway the mark of Tutankhamun. We were still worried that robbers had raided the tomb. And there's a picture there of Howard Carter at the entrance to Tutankhamun's tomb. Sunday, the 26th of November. We reached a second doorway. I made a small hole and looked through. It was some time before one could see. The hot air escaping caused the candle to flicker, but as soon as one's eyes became accustomed to the glimmer of light, the interior of the chamber gradually loomed before one, with its strange and wonderful medley of extraordinary and beautiful objects heaped upon one another. Monday, the 27th of November. It was clear we had found a pharaoh's tomb, and we were only in the outer chamber, filled with amazing treasure. The tomb was mostly undisturbed by robbers. Tutankhamun's body could lie in the next room. So what else can Tutankhamun's tomb tell us? Detectives need evidence. Tutankhamun's tomb was packed with all sorts of evidence about his life. Why was Tutankhamun buried with all that stuff? Well, the ancient Egyptians believed that Tutankhamun was on his way to the afterlife. They filled the tomb with everything he would need there, from food to models of his servants. So when Howard Carter first peered into the dark tomb, he said he could see wonderful things. The tomb was full of thousands of amazing objects, from beautiful jewelry to gold furniture. Paintings from the tomb show Tutankhamun riding in a chariot or with his wife, Ankhesenem. Sometimes he is sitting down or using a walking stick. Tutankhamun would never have chosen the ordinary tomb himself. Another tomb was being built, but he died so suddenly that the tomb was not ready. Clue. Some of the treasures were taken from other tombs because Tutankhamun had not yet built up a collection of his own. Could this be a sign that his death was not expected? Examining the diary. Howard Carter kept a diary at the time he discovered the tomb. That could give us vital evidence. 27th of November 1922. Everywhere we found traces of disorder caused by some early intruder. Objects overturned, broken fragments lying upon the floor, all added to the confusion. So tomb robbers had been in the tomb, but they hadn't taken all the treasures. As the better light fell upon the objects, we tried to take them in. It was impossible, there were so many. So Tutankhamun was buried with all kinds of riches, not the usual way to hide a body, but then he was a king. In neither of the two chambers could we see any traces of a mummy. Carter and his team did not find the body straight away. The mystery gradually dawned upon us. We were in the outer portion of a tomb. Behind that closed doorway was the tomb chamber, and Tutankhamun probably lay there. We had found that monarch's burial place intact. So tomb robbers had not discovered, or at least had not disturbed, Tutankhamun's mummy. So what can we learn from Tutankhamun's body? Tutankhamun's body may be thousands of years old, but it still holds important clues about how he died. The body of Tutankhamun was found in a separate burial chamber of the tomb. The mummified body of the pharaoh lay inside a golden sarcophagus where it had been placed more than 3,000 years before. So the question is, what have we learned about Tutankhamun since Howard Carter found the body? Good question. In 1968, the mummy was x-rayed. And so it says here, how did the ancient Egyptians make a mummy? First, the body had to dry out, so it could be preserved forever. This could take many weeks. 2, it could be very messy too, because you had to remove the mummy's insides. Someone would get the horrible job of pulling the mummy's brain out through his nose using a special hook. That sounds disgusting. Number 3, the dried out body was stuffed with sawdust and rags and then wrapped in sheets of linen. I'm not talking about 1 or 2 layers. There would be 20 layers of wrapping, and inside each layer would be little ornaments and charms. Number 4, finally, the mummy was ready to be buried. So have a look. Oh, let's have a look at this one first, shall we? It says, does it matter that Howard Carter and his team took the mummy apart and left it in the sun? Answer, of course it does. Any detective knows you should leave the evidence just as you found it. And it says here, X-ray evidence. Have a look at what the X-ray team found. Spine. Fact. Tutankhamun's spine was bent. Question. Could this be one reason why he died so young? Skull. Fact. Damage to the skull might have been caused by a blow to the head. Question. Did this kill him, or did it happen during mummification? Ribs. Fact. Some of Tutankhamun's ribs are missing. Was he born like this, or did he have an accident? Oh gosh, Willow class, I find myself having more questions than when I started reading this book. Right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop there and we will continue this tomorrow. This is really quite interesting. Thanks for listening, Willow class.